Welcome back to this week's pitching preview brought to you by Fantasy Baseball Cafe. I'm Jason Gilbo, running through some two-start pitchers, looking at the week ahead for some streaming, and also going to touch on some trade movers. We're looking at two already gone, Scott Kazmir and most likely Johnny Cueto already heading to Kansas City, although the deal hasn't been finalized yet, but looks like he's on his way there. And also we will always wrap it up with an injury report, which is pretty light this week. So after last week's poor offering of two-star pitchers, we get our usual abundance of guys this week. David Price, Jose Fernandez, Sonny Gray, all getting the two starts this week. And then you also have guys like Lance Lynn and Noah Syndergaard. And Syndergaard's already kind of established himself as a big-name arm for fantasy. He can really rack up those strikeouts, and he's got two really nice opponents this week facing the Padres and the Nationals. So good week for Syndergaard owners. You'll like them there. Looking to jump to the middle tier guys. One I want to start out with I really like is Jorge De La Rosa for Colorado. Gets out of Coors this week, which is a big thing. Of course, he has an ERA in the sixes out in Coors, but he has a 1.93 ERA on the road. Ground ball pitcher. He's got a nice 22% strikeout rate, and he's going to face two teams that are really prone to striking out a ton against left-handed pitching. He's looking at the Cubs and the Cardinals this week, so he's going to head to the NL Central and make two starts. I think you really have to like him because he's probably out there for a possible streaming this week. I doubt too many people own him at all, just being a Coors pitcher. But like I said, I mean, Cardinals and Cubs, they strike out a ton, close to 22%, for both of them. And even when the Cards went to Coors, De La Rosa held them to 2 runs over 7 innings and struck out 8. So he's a nice two-start streamer for this week. Looking at a couple one-and-done guys, there's a couple big ones. Chris Heston and Mike Fiers. Fiers could be another guy who's on the move out of Milwaukee there. I know Toronto's interested in him, but Fiers' first start against San Francisco, he's going to be a guy who I sit for that one. Even though it's in San Francisco, the Giants' offense just rips apart right-hand pitching. They don't strike out a lot. And Fiers is a guy who can really blow up at times, although he's been pitching pretty well this season outside of the early April and May. But then he's going to face the Cubs, who have a 24.4% strikeout rate, and a lot of their guys are slumping really hard right now. Especially Rizzo and Bryant and Fowler, hitting out of the leadoff role, only hitting like 240 or so, if that. They're struggling right now, and really the only bat that's hitting well is Kyle Schwarber. So, 24.4% strikeout rate against right-handed pitching. You gotta like Fiers there. Of course, he should be making that start unless he's shipped out, because that comes later in the week. But deal with it then. The other one, Chris Heston, safe play against his first start against Milwaukee at home, but then he's going to head to Texas, where he's kind of struggled against left-handed bats. In Texas, they offer a ton of lefties. You got Oder, Fielder, Moreland, Chu, all those guys, and then you even have Beltre on the right side that can give him trouble. So tough matchup, especially in Texas, big-time hitters park. Even though Heston keeps the ball in the yard, I'm still worried about that one a little bit. I can't see a great start, it gives me a little reason to sit him a little more. One guy to start your own risk for 2 starts this week, Hisashi Iwakuma. He's looked good over his last 2 starts, of course, since coming back from the injury. He's allowed 4 combined earned runs against 2 really good offenses in Detroit and the New York Yankees. But still, he has not looked great this season, still allowing a ton of homers. He'll face the Twins and the Diamondbacks, who can really lay the offense on a pitcher in a hurry. So it's kind of start your own risk there, see what you can get out of him. I think he's going to be kind of like that for going forward. If you're looking for a full, complete list, head over to fantasybaseballcafe.com. Every Sunday we got the 2-start guys, the whole squad going up, and with some analysis and ranking them down by the tier. So although I just touched on a couple, I'll definitely head there for the rest of the guys there. Prepping for some streamers this week. Monday, Kevin Gausman for Baltimore. He'll take on the Braves at home. He's a quality arm, has his up and downs, just struggled against left-handed bats. But the Braves offense isn't that great. I like Gausman, especially in deeper leagues here. Of course, Jorge De La Rosa is getting the start against the Cubs. I like him there. Tuesday, bear with me on this one. Wade Miley against the White Sox. Of course, it's risky. It's Wade Miley. Wade Miley. But Chicago has been awful against left-handed pitching this season. 58 WRC plus, 22.2% strikeout rate. The White Sox have just been really bad against lefties this season. Miley hasn't been completely awful. Of course, he's had his blows. But, he's pitched some decent quality starts. And as bad as they are against left-handed pitching, I like the risk. And he's the only one really to mention for Tuesday. So Wednesday, Chris Tillman's kind of figure things out. He'll get the Braves. R.A. Dickey, a possible streaming option against the Phillies, who are starting to hit the ball, but R.A. Dickey's kind of got a high upside with the strikeout rate. If he gets the knuckler working, of course he's at home, backed by that Toronto offense. I could like him for a cheap win there. Maybe 6 or 7 innings. He's going to go deep into the game with the knuckler, so it's not too bad of an option there. Thursday, short slate, Andrew Cashner, John Neese are both scoring off each other. The Padres Mets are both low-ranked offenses against both right-handers and left-handers, so you could take your pick for whoever gets the win, but both should be in line for quality starts. Looking at Friday, Ian Kennedy face off against the Marlins yet again. He just threw 6 innings of 1 earned run ball, 7 strikeouts against them, got the win last night. So Kennedy's pitched all right over the last few starts after a really horrible start to the season, allowing a ton of homers, which is tough to believe in Petco, but he's been all right lately. Taylor Youngman against the Cubs. He threw another quality start against the Diamondbacks. This kid's throwing the ball really well. I really like him for the rest of the season. It's a nice pickup. Looking at Saturday, Matt Latos is going to get the Padres, which he's pitching against here today on Sunday. De La Rosa is going to make his second start against the Cardinals, so I like him there. Looking ahead at Sunday, we got Jaime Garcia's back off the DL, face the Rockies. The Rockies are near the White Sox in offense against left-handed pitching. Really only Tulo and Arenado to worry about. Of course, you have Rosario and Stubbs, who are kind of hit-and-miss guys. Garcia was pitching really well before he went down, but let's see how long he can stay up in the bigs this time. So I want to touch on the 2 big-name pitchers that were on the move. Scott Kazmir heading to Houston and Johnny Cueto heading to Kansas City. Looking at things right away, park factor shifts. Cueto is the big winner here, moving from Cincinnati to Kansas City. Obviously a big change in the park there, being, Coffin Stadium being a lot bigger than a Great American Ballpark. Cueto's always pitched well at home, so I mean, moving to a bigger park is just gonna build his fantasy value. And I don't really expect a huge difference from Kazmir for value shifting. Of course, pitching the Coliseum is a lot bigger than moving to Houston, which is more of a hitter's park. But Kazmir does a great job of keeping the ball in the yard. Doesn't walk a ton of guys. He doesn't create a lot of trouble for himself. So I really like that there. I don't see much. I see Kazmir kind of staying on par with the rest of the way here is what he's brought from earlier in the season. As for Cueto, I really like the move. A really top defense behind him, a productive offense, a bigger park. I'd be ecstatic with owning Cueto and having him move for the rest of the season. So now we're kind of watching for Cole Hamels, possibly David Price. Even James Shields has been mentioned as a move. Andrew Cashner, Jeff Samardzija. The Indians are even listening to Carlos Carrasco. So those are all really huge names that could be moving down the stretch here. And of course Carrasco, I keep vouching for him here for fantasy, and then he goes and blows up against the White Sox. So it's definitely been frustrating. Keep playing the FIP card there, but God, he's got to get that ERA down and keep the ball, out of the gaps and he keeps allowing cheap base runners, but he's looked bad over the last couple starts. Of course, he had the close no. I still like Carrasco going forward for the rest of the season. I'm going to keep standing by that there. But if he's another arm that could be moved, that's crazy. Especially for what he's got for the rest. I believe he's got a couple of years at just I forget what it is, $6 million, I believe, each year. So that's kind of a nice value there. Rounding up with the injury report, of course, Jaime Garcia due back this week. He'll make 2 starts. Strasburg's on his way back. He headed for a rehab start this week through a 51-pitch bullpen session. That's good news for him. Likely mean Joe Ross heads back down, the top prospect they got kind of in the wings there. So he's likely back August, assuming all goes well. News on Clay Buchholz, he'll be back in September, but pretty much a wash for the rest of the season because even if he's back in September, you got to see him being on a pitch count. You got to see him not being in MLB game shape. It just really makes him a tough play for the rest of the season. And almost yet again had a really great start to this year, and kind of like 2013 when he was heading for a Cy Young like season, goes down and then misses the second half. So really, history repeats itself here with Buchholz. It's a little bit disappointing. That's going to wrap us up here. Pretty light injury report, so that's good. And hopefully next week I'll have some more guys to report on with their new teams. So that's going to take us out here. This week's pitching preview brought to you by Fantasy Baseball Cafe.